We all know a Mary Sue character when we see them and we hate them. Like Emily in Paris is a classic example. She's basically somebody, whoever's writing that, they are writing a protagonist that's basically their idealized self. So often it comes across as a person that's humble but confident, like so sweet, the ingenue, good at everything, but when she makes mistakes, like she's just trying, so like it's very much it's your idealized self. Like it's like someone is unafraid to allow that character to have paradox, to have contradiction, to have some juiciness, to have some like rage and some Cali goddess and some like, but instead it's just this kind of like really sweet, fawning, deferential, just kind of good girl, very much a good girl energy. And then we also see it so much with kind of typical white girl woke characters that are like, I acknowledge my privilege, and they're like very, that's like, we think of the Orange is the New Black character. That's why everybody hates her. It's because she's a Mary Sue. She is a character that is someone's idealized self. So it's basically someone who the woman who wrote that she thought it was more important to convince people that she was such a good person who was well liked in prison by everyone, all the cliques, and she's very aware of her social justice role and blah, blah, blah. She was more about trying to convince her audiences that she's a good person. And of course, I mean, this is not something we should put down or judge, because we all have this part of us. I mean, in order to be a social species, we do want people to like us and to think well of us. But in terms of storytelling, if that becomes your motive, you're going to lose, because you know what? We like to see some edge. We like to see some dimension. We like to see some paradox. So if you've got a Mary Sue character, and that means someone who is like so humble and so just trying to do the right thing, and so always does the right thing, always solves the mystery, always gets everything. Like, that's actually even, like, just to go off on another tangent, this is also why people are reacting so harshly to Blake Lively, is she kind of has this Mary Sue almost denial in her interviews when she's in a movie about an abusive relationship and the gradual development of a domestic violence situation, but she almost, to the point of absurdity, avoids ever talking about it. And so she looks very flat, she looks one-dimensional, because she just reverts to talking about style. Like, I saw an interview where it was saying, what are some of the warning signs that you would have told your younger self for an abusive relationship? And she, instead of answering, or instead of going in that question, she turned that question into, what are some of the fashion faux pas that you want to tell your younger self not to do? And then she started talking about, this is what I would tell my younger self never to wear. And I thought, this truly does seem like, I mean, every parody of her is valid, because why would you deflect to that point of absurdity? It's almost like the marketing people were like, it's almost like they said to her, we're not going to actually pay you for this movie if you ever bring up domestic violence. Like, if someone brings it up, you have to deflect at all costs, or we won't pay you, because that's how crazy it is. It's either that, or she's in some kind of weird disassociated state, because she's actually in a bad situation, and it's almost like a confrontation and a denial. I mean, that's how I view it. It's that crazy. But that Mary Sue makes everyone so mad. We hate it. We don't like that. Like, we already know you wearing cute dresses. Like, show us something else in your personality. Like, show us some backbone. Show us something. Stop performing like a cute little girl, right? So how do you make your characters? How do you get them out of Mary Sue-dom? I mean, the main thing that's going to help you is if you have actually confronted your own dark side and your own shadow. Because usually, like I have said, main characters suffer from my idealized self syndrome. So if I'm writing a character that's just based on my idealized self, that person had, like, whatever traits I think that people want to see are what's emphasized. So with that, mine is definitely like funny girl, funny. She's so funny, and she's smart, and she's humble, like good girl, a mix of all this. But you have to show, if you're gonna have her dark side, then that sense of humor needs to kind of poke fun at herself. It needs to show that she is aware of her own bullshit. That makes an interesting character. That makes somebody that's like owning that they are full of delusion, contradiction, and bullshit, because we all are. And that's more interesting. So writing, and that's another thing, when you actually will notice that all the villain and the hero in those very kind of clear-cut battle movies, that's actually the biggest sign of your idealized self and your shadow self. So that's why they're always opposites, because these are the traits you're not allowed to have, but people love, that's why people love villains. That's why they're always talking about villain origin stories. Like, they love that. We love it. The idealized self is boring. It's what you think you have to be to get along, but we actually love to see that, we love to see your rage. We love to see your manipulation. We love to see the two-faced bullshit you do. So when you are hesitant to do that in your main character, it's because you haven't integrated that in yourself. This is a psychological, when you're writing, you're integrating all your selves are on the page. They're all different selves. Like, for instance, I always have this need, like I'll be thinking I'm writing one thing, and this brash, provocative guy always shows up in my stories. Like, I was trying to have a like people-pleasing guy, and then suddenly he had a twin brother that entered that was like brash and provocative, and I thought, there it is again. See, I have a need to bring that part of me out, so I keep even if I have to create a twin that comes out of the lake, they suddenly appear. And that's you craving to integrate all yourselves, and that's you craving to let this part out. So how do you write a dimensional character? Start with shadow and realize how much we love that, and realize that it like for instance, there's like a part of me that kind of thinks, oh, I'm like sometimes I identify with a part of me that's like, oh, I'm so nervous, I'm so worried, I don't know if I can go up on the stage and do stand-up, kind of that like little ingenue. And it's like an attractive side, because then everybody comes in and says, oh, go for it, but then that's not even a real aspect of me. That's like kind of this little girl self that knows that that's how I should be acting. Because deep down inside, when I start hearing stand-up, there's a part of me that's like, oh, yeah, you've got this. You're way better than all these people. Okay, like those two things both coexist in me. There's a nervous person that's like, I know, oh, I have so much doubt. Oh, I'm so humble. And then there's a part of me that's like, oh, look at these. I'm so much better than these people. I'm way better. Oh, put me up there. Put me up there. I'm the best. Okay, these sides coexist. That doubt, that certainty, that confidence and cockiness with that overly humble, like put it all in one person, because it is in one person. Often they're playing off. Sometimes what you're judging sometimes is the part of you that you can't express, and what you're overemphasizing with your mask is what you think that people like, but you actually feel the opposite. So that's how to create dimensional characters. Is you got to know yourself first. You got to know your own bullshit. You got to know your shadow, and then you're going to be able to write some, like, no more Mary Sue's. Because that's why Orange is the New Black too, that all the other characters have so much depth, because they have permission as criminals. They are criminals, so we already have so much room to have them grow and be so interesting, because we already have this bad side filled out, and then so any little glimmer of good is interesting. Whereas the Mary Sue main character is so boring because she's just constantly trying to assert her justice and her good girl self. That's like, just shut up and be a criminal. Own the fact that you're a criminal and you're in jail, you know? So yeah, hope this was helpful.